When a man is killed in the chaos around him, what language does he die in? When he babbles and his lungs collapse into themselves with his hand clasped around his stillborn dreams, do we call it a figure of speech? Now, when the people responsible for killing this man force chaos down the throat of his descendants and teach them to repeat it till it is the only language they know, when they mispronounce the name of their own, do we call it poetry? Who tells his story without substituting shackles for accessories and noose for necklaces? How much of his history is lost in translation, on purpose, in stolen lands, on saltwater splash? Who will find his language and purge it of lies? Thank you. So this second piece, a statement actually annoyed me into writing this poem. Where do African artifacts belong? On a sunny day in 1885, Eastern Nigeria, a 12-year-old boy holds his ikenga close to his chest like a prayer, smiling, with the conviction that it would be enough to keep him alive. This sculpture of his chi was hand-carved by his great-grandfather, handed to his grandfather and then to his father before me. Tell me, what is more holy, more magic than guardian spirits being passed through generations? And then the breeds come, soaking the air with chaos. They take his home, turn it into a grave. They take his father, turn him into a slave. They take his name, his music, his heart, his language. Looked at his God and then said, this one too is ours today. The news headlines and debate topics read, where do African artifacts belong? This is not a question. It is oppression. It is about dominance and power. But I'll answer. African artifacts belong in Africa. To Africans. Are they better left in museums? There are ikengas still bound in these places. Spirits in exile, mislabeled, deities invisible in dark cellars with no connection to their descendants. 90% of Africa's cultural heritage lies outside of Africa. Welt Museum, Vienna, Austria, 37,000. The British Museum, 69,000. France, 70,000. The Humboldt Forest, Germany, 75,000. Belgium, 180,000. Are they safe in Africa? Safe? Dear colonizer, don't talk to me about safety when most of my cultural legacies in your museum have a violent history. Do not talk to me about safety. When my people were once put in zoos like my deities now are too and labeled exotic, don't talk to me about safety. When some of these artifacts still have blood on them from when they were taken, do not talk to me about safety. When there are still hundreds of African skulls stored in basements in Berlin, let's talk. Let's talk about reparations. Let's decolonize restitutions, and maybe one day, maybe history will be healed by time. Maybe time will assuage the chaos. But I know that the power of the world to heal itself begins with a conversation like this one. Thank you. So this third poem, I'll be reading from my book because there is so much going on in the world and I feel like we could all use a little hope. On nights when the pain sits in your chest and hope grows tired of waiting, remember, you are not an extra. 2, when you move, you bring the sun with you. 3, you deserve better than the rotten parts of them. 4, love does not have to be forever to be magical. 5, forgiving yourself is hard work, but you will succeed at it if you are willing. 6, love doesn't cost a dime. It costs a whole lot more, especially when you have to give it to you. 7, you have to give it to you. 8, you are more than what happened to you. Your trauma is not a punchline. 9, you don't have to fold yourself into something less wild to be loved. Love never has to be that torturous. 9, it wasn't their love that made you whole. 10, you are too magical to be loved like an apology. You are too magical to be loved like an apology. You are the sun and the flowers. You are not something unholy. You are not a sin. Someday, you will crawl out of your ashes. You will be sane again. Your cheesy poems will rise with the sun. Love will touch your heart where it burns. And lastly, do not forget that God has a tattoo of your name in our bones. Thank you.